Hi guys, it's SJ. I hope you're good. I'm in the kitchen with a cup of coffee and just wanted to do probably what will be my last video on speech delay. I'm feeling a little bit, I don't know, maybe just pensive or annoyed. Just a lot of noise goes on around when you have a child and they're going through something like speech delay or any type of thing that we don't agree as a society they should be doing. If it's a delay, we're obsessed with milestones, obsessed. And if we can't all reach them at exactly the same time, jumping through a nice line together, all together at the same time, then the parents must be crap. Is the kind of bottom line. And I really wanted to just challenge some of the assumptions that I've had over the years around speech delay. You know, it's not because I feel negative about it at all, like it's because I really believe that I've had to learn so much about what a speech delay is. I've had to learn what it's like to have a child with a special educational needs coordinator. I've had to learn what it's like to have your child's most vulnerable thing, like their communication, like their speech, out there in the playground. You know, you can't hide it. He's had to push through. He's had comments to his face, I've had comments to my face about it, and it's really tough. And you know, the things we've heard, you know, that children with speech delay, you know, they're a bit dumb, they're a bit slow, they're slow learners. You know, other children saying, you know, I can't play with you because I can't understand you, or other adults saying, why do you let your son talk gobbledygook? Somebody said to me once. Or, you know, the very strong assumption that he's either lazy or I'm a really terrible mum who ignores him. So you just come up against a lot of assumptions, and actually a lot of them are just stuff that we hear within our very small inner circle, or that we say to ourselves. Like the amount of stuff I've said to myself that simply isn't true. So these are the assumptions. I've had tons of you send me things that you assume about speech delay that you've heard, that you've experienced yourself, and I hope that by confronting the assumptions head on, it will change some assumptions, not just about speech delay, but about any milestone or worry that you have that your child is going through. The first thing I've heard most from a lot of people is that children with a speech delay are literally the words I've had from me, like dumber than other people, or stupid, or just a general, because they don't communicate, that they don't understand what's going on around them. They can't keep up with general conversations, and it's tough because there's a communication issue there. The communication is so key to everyone else kind of accepting us or getting to know us. And the bigger thing for me was people not getting to know Finn, and then having all these assumptions about what's going on behind the scenes, whereas I know him, he's my baby, I'm with him every day, you know, I tuck him into bed every single night and he's woken up to my face every morning for 7 years. It's just so hard that we write people off. And what about people with learning difficulties who do find it harder? You know, this language around, you know, dumb and stupid and not really getting what's going on. I think that we often also then don't take people's feelings into account, and we write people's feelings off as if people feel differently if they are more visibly having a struggle with a communication or even a physical disability. And what I want to say is, actually what I've learned is, imagine, you know, your senses. We often say, you know, if you can't see, your hearing gets so much better, or if you can't breathe, your taste gets so much better. You know, we talk about how our senses can increase when one is taken away. And I'm telling you, if you can't communicate well, for whatever reason, your ability to have empathy and to be able to feel what other people is feeling is so high. You know, Finn can walk into a room and he reads a room. In a second, he will be able to tell you who's feeling like what, who's the happy kids, who's the worried kids, who's a bit like left out, and he could just scan and instantly do that. That emotional intelligence is really, really high, and I think that comes through from not having his communication. So whenever you're with somebody who you think, oh, you know, they're not all there, they're not answering me, they're drifting a little bit, or they're not as articulate as other people, never assume that they don't have a huge amount of value and that they've got probably more emotional intelligence and can feel your disdain or lack of interest, your dismissive nature of them more than anyone else would. Just because somebody communicates differently to you doesn't mean you also have to then talk slowly, or obviously they're finding it difficult to understand you, but you don't have to dumb yourself down or think that they're not following, they're not going to understand, they can't enjoy themselves as much, and they can't learn as much as anyone else. And it's just a real horrible feeling when you're a mum of a child with a speech delay that nobody knows their potential, and we have to deal with trying to find them the help, get them to reach their potential, when sometimes we're the only one who sees their potential. All the while, the second big assumption, oh my goodness, is how it is my fault, parents' fault, too much screens, dummies, ignoring them, talking over them, too busy, too distracted, works too long hours, too many kids, too few kids, you know, whatever it is we can latch onto to make it the parents' fault, to make it the mum's fault in particularly with something like a communications issue, we will do. And I've been told countless times by people close to me that it was the screen time, that it was not talking to them. I've been told on here that my voice is too strange and my accent is too difficult, so that's why my child has a speech delay. That because I have a YouTube channel, which actually takes much less time than my old full-time job, I'm probably neglecting my children. Like, just the stuff that you hear constantly. And the thing I want to say about that is, number one, obviously it's ridiculous. And if you are a mum with a child with any type of communications issue, I think you will be with me on this. If for some reason communications just seems to be laziness, they're all just bloody lazy, neglectful parents. But also it's so hard to ask for help because you feel like that, because you feel so judged, because I felt like if I asked for help, I was told by a nursery nurse, oh, some children these days have such bad speech delays because they have so much screen time. And I'm there with a child with a speech delay that she didn't know about, and I was just felt like instantly judged, blamed. You know, what does cause a speech delay? Who knows? It might be that obviously there are some children who would fall into that camp, but not every child. There's no way my child has too much screen time. There's no way that I don't chat to my child. He's got brother and sister who have no speech issues whatsoever, and I've done nothing differently. So if I blame myself, I'm too ashamed to ask for help, and it took me so much longer to get the help and support I needed because I felt so judged. Whereas for something like his eczema or his allergies, I never felt I was to blame for those things. Like nobody ever made me feel ashamed or blamed, so I could immediately find help and be more proactive. But it's really difficult. So if you are, even in the back of your mind, that niggle of probably it's something going on at home, just try not to think that. Try to give kindness and give empathy as if it was you. Like, you don't know, like this could happen with your next child if you've got one or two. Don't always assume that the parents aren't doing all their best, because actually what's happening behind the scenes is we're trying so bloody hard to push through every day and to help them that we're trying harder than any other mum. I had a lot of messages saying he's on the spectrum, and I always find it interesting because I don't understand this spectrum enough, but I feel like a lot of people seem to be quite spectrum experts to tell me like he's on the spectrum. I know that it's difficult now because Finn's graduated from special educational needs and has really turned out to be so bright. And I have mentioned it, you know, like how he's now on this gifted and talented program we just found out this week. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I never thought, and it annoyed me so much when I read any story about somebody with autism or learning issues, that they always turn out to be some bloody genius, and it frustrated me a lot. And I don't think that Finn is a genius. What I know, because I know my kid, is that he tries so hard. He has had to battle to prove himself. Age 3, age 2, age 4, he's battled every time. He's been in nursery, preschool. He has pushed himself so hard to do well, and it's going to turn him probably into a bit of a people pleaser, but he will succeed more at a younger age because he's got that inner push, that inner drive. He's learned how to succeed, you have to try super hard, and he's had to try so hard at his speech therapy. Like, imagine having to spend your whole time doing stuff that you find hard. Like, just talking is so hard, draining, and having to do that all day, every day, and then do the therapy for, like, we were doing 40 minutes a day sometimes, you know, it's just draining. You really have to have strong stuff, and you learn quickly to try hard and you'll get results. That's what he's learned just super young. Like, I'm absolutely sure that by the next few years it will even out with his peer group, but what he has gained is a huge amount of self-determination, and that, again, I feel would take him further in life than anyone who's not had to go through something like this early. Big thing is that people assume about speech delayed children that they're going to have really bad behaviour, that they're naughty kids as well, naughty, neglected, lazy, sit at the back of the class, and, you know, don't really try hard or something like that. And it's true, you know, obviously behaviour does go bad when there is communication issues, and Finn gets very frustrated and super frustrated, especially with me when I couldn't understand him, because I'm a safety net. I understood, and I had to be super firm. Like, you know, I've talked about it before, but I've always said I will not let anyone hit you, and I will not let you hit anyone else. And I've had to do behaviour talk like that in the loving care of home, in this loving environment, in this supportive environment, you know, teach him the skills to deal with when he's feeling confronted or angry. You know, you do have to do that, and I think doing that at home, and play therapy has been incredible and amazing, and gentle parenting with a positive discipline I have really let into it because of Finn. But it doesn't mean they're naughty. The behaviour might be naughty, the kid's not naughty. Doesn't mean that it's acceptable behaviour either. I don't agree with hitting. I don't agree with being disruptive. Even if there's a cause, you have to know how to behave, and luckily children with speech delay will be able to control it and should be able to, and need to just be taught. And the last one is, you know, I've heard so much about if a child has a speech or communication issue, delay, that it's so hard to catch up. You know, they're probably just going to be languishing at the back, they'll lack a lot of confidence and lack the social skills needed to integrate into a normal school, for example, into their peer group. What's a normal school in 2020? And, you know, I feel like there is so much support out there, and one of the reasons that I'm really happy that I've talked about speech delay and I've made these videos, number one, that Finn loves them. Finn is so proud of them. I don't make videos about him without his permission and without him knowing that I'm doing it. He knows about this video and stuff like that. He's been in a lot of the videos himself, and it's when his timing is right. And I appreciate that he owns his speech delay. He's not embarrassed about it, and neither is he embarrassed about his allergies. And as much as we can have that, you know, like, as much as we can just be like, do you know what, this is me, and that is a huge thing that, you know, will change, I hope, from the way that we talk nowadays to our children about our differences, about differences in general. You know, they will have confidence in themselves if we don't hide it, or we don't act ashamed, embarrassed, or talk about them in front of them. Like, I was really conscious not to say in front of him, oh, he's got a speech delay, you won't be able to understand him, or, you know, I tried to just let him be himself out and about. And I read something so good the other day, I listened to it on the radio, and I just want to tell you it because I listened to this girl on the radio, and I'll try and find her and link her book below, and she was talking about being a little person and all the stuff that's happened to her, all the assumptions people have made about her, and how she has to live her life. And she said something that was so good, and she basically said, when you look at me, you can see that I'm a little person, you can immediately see my biggest difficulty and the challenges that I'm going to have, and you will know all about me from the minute you see me, that I've got a different called life. She goes, whereas when I look at you, other people, your difficulties and what makes you different can be very hidden. And it was just really interesting. She said, so you might not get the help that you need. And I thought it was so fascinating to think of it in that way. We all have something that makes us different. We all have something that makes our lives extra difficult. And with a physical disability or with a communication disability like Finn had, there was nowhere for him to hide in the playground. He either spoke, everyone knew he had a delay and his voice wasn't there, or he kept silent, which he didn't do. But it was out there. You know, he had to own it. He had to overcome it. You know, he had to realise that actually I'll push myself a bit harder into that group, or actually I'll ask for some more support and I'll accept the help. So it's a really good way of thinking about it. She made me feel so positive, and I love what she said, and it's so true. We all have our own battles, and for some of them, children who've gone through them early, or you going through these things early with your child and helping them get diagnoses, or all these labels that we need to get them the extra help, whether it's like on the spectrum, I don't understand the spectrum enough, anything like that. What we're doing is we're teaching them resilience, we're teaching them to be proud of their differences, we're teaching them there's help out there, we're teaching them they're important. Their differences make them important, because people are there to cheer them on, and we're teaching them to spread awareness and to be proud of who they are, through talking about it and being open. And what could be better, what could be, let's just try to be much more open-minded to learn more, to challenge our own assumptions and put them out there and go, I assumed this, is that the right assumption to have, or should I change it around a little bit? Going through the last 4 years and making a few videos about it on here, I have found a community, and it's been really important. And I just want to thank you for your lovely comments. And for the people who've got negative assumptions about parents of children with special educational needs or children with speech delays, I hope it's kind of been illuminating, and I hope it's given you some insight into it that will help if you're ever in a situation where you need to support another parent going through it. So yes, that is the end of this video, the end of actual speech therapy for us now. So I will get my head around that at some point in my life. Onwards for us as a family, and I'm always here to help you guys. You can say hi in the comments below or DM me on Instagram. Take care guys, bye bye.